It's Wednesdays with Keegs. We could talk for about 2 hours today about the last two games the Blue Jays played. Let's start with the Tuesday night victory. And Keegs, we live in a world in which Charles McAdoo, Brett Bateman, and Miles Straw are the stars on a night where Dylan Cease pitches.
I don't know why I waste my time with all this predictive, here's what's going to happen stuff. I need the whole internet scrubbed on how I said this season would go, man. I love the way the Blue Jays are playing these last few days because yesterday in that Tuesday win against the Red Sox, they did not play great baseball. Like, it wasn't overwhelming, incredible baseball. They just didn't make the mistake. The Red Sox made the mistake on that dumb error on the ground ball at third base that should have been a double play, extended an inning. Sometimes you just have to not screw up. And that's what the Blue Jays did a great job of last year. I think we're beyond trying to recapture last year's magic. It ain't happening. But one of the superpowers of last year's team was, if they didn't really have it, like if they didn't have some magic in a game, they could just outlast you. They were a very stubborn baseball team. And I think stubbornness is a great skill because mo- most teams in Major League Baseball this year are unspectacular. And if you can wait them out and let them make the first mistake, which is exactly what happened Tuesday, you win. And these are the games the Blue Jays need to be stealing 90% of down the stretch. You need some games where you win 8-0 and hit some home runs. Yeah. But a lot of these are going to be close, ugly baseball games. Just don't make the first mistake. I think they did a very good job of that. We've talked a lot of times, Dan, like, is this momentum? I don't know. But it's 4 wins in 5 games, 2.5 back of a playoff spot. That is not nothing.
You've been in the trenches the last 2 days. You've been talking to a lot of people. Give us all the intel you have on Brett Bateman, a man who played not a single major league game, gets traded for by the Jays, and now he's getting water dumped on him after a game on a Tuesday in August.
Does not lack confidence, number one. And he's certainly come in and feels like he belongs at this point. And there's a very clear leadoff hitter profile there, or top of the lineup profile. Now, when you have his offensive profile, you need to nail it. Okay, like it's like when we have bigger conversations about the Blue Jays as a team. If all you're going to do is work counts and make contact, you got to do a really good job of that because there's no power to bail you out. And Brett Bateman won't be a power hitter. If he has 6 or 8 home runs over a full season, great. You're happy enough. This is about getting on base, having some speed, and playing really good defense. We haven't gotten to see the defense just yet, just naturally. There haven't been many challenging plays in center for him. But a lot of his prospect profiles, Dan, when he was traded to the Blue Jays, and he's their number 17 prospect. I won't try to paint this as a number one, 17. A lot of the prospect profiles kind of painted a Miles Straw type of player. Like more when Miles Straw was getting paid with the Guardians, and Miles Straw's been a very useful player for this team. Now, is that someone who can be a full-time starter long term, or a guy who's a fourth outfielder, which is still very useful? That's not a knock, but someone who's more of Straw's role this year. We'll see. This is step one. 2 weeks from now, pitchers will have adjusted to him and found a hole, and it's up to him to bounce back and do that. But he is nailing the first start of this, and he's in a really good spot because John Schneider is willing to trust whoever the hell walks through that door and does something, man. Outside of Vladdy and George Springer, and I don't think anyone else, like, if you hit, you're in the lineup. Okay. And if you're slumping, someone else will play. That goes for Bateman. That goes for McAdoo, who were the 1-2 hitters last night. What the hell's going on? I don't know. But I love it. You got to take that 12 and under travel ball approach. Screw it. Whoever got a couple hits in the last game gets to play again. Whoever I've got a good feeling about today gets to bat first and second. Whatever. The other strategies haven't worked. Do it this way. Go with your gut. Ride the hot hand. Ride some of these young, talented guys who have come in and who are eager. Because if Alejandro Kirk gets a big hit, yeah, it fires up the dugout. But he's done that before. If this number 17 prospect out of nowhere, who you met 2 days ago, comes up in a clutch, that does something a little different for a dugout and for a clubhouse. And I like the energy that they're kind of wrangling there.
This is an extended tryout for Brett Bateman. The way I see it is the Jays are in a situation where they're trying to convince themselves, hey, we can have a center fielder in which, in Major League Baseball standards, makes absolutely nothing. Do we have to go out and get a $10 million a year center fielder when we have this guy?
For free.
Yes.
It's he really might be competing with Miles Straw for that roster spot. And Miles Straw, I believe it's an $8 million option with a 1.75, I think it is. Buy it.
Take Straw. Take them both.
Yeah.
We need Straw.
Build the whole boat out of them. Like
Yes.
I like that style player. I'm a sucker for like the speed and defense and not only do I like Miles Straw as a clubhouse guy, that stuff is not fluff. It's very real. Um the Blue Jays, like if we're talking about bench clearing brawls, I don't know if they're exactly the bad boys of Major League Baseball right now. I don't know if we build like a 30 team bracket, I don't know if they're winning the bracket. Miles Straw is though, man. He's the one guy in that clubhouse I want on my team.
Oh, he's got
Up
a
to
shiv
side.
somewhere.
Oh yeah, he's tough. So I like that style, but center field, it's like needing a shortstop or an ace. Like teams aren't giving those guys away because they're really valuable. And if you have to go out into free agency and sign a center fielder, you're not often going to get good bang for your buck. It's such a premium position. It's like trying to sign a quarterback in the NFL. You're just going to have to pay. If you can find one, that's the value of player development or player acquisitions like this that doesn't get talked about enough. Like for every time that you develop a Trey Yesavage, over Trey Yesavage's 6 years of team control, if he's healthy, you're saving $100 million, and I wish the player was just getting that money because I always want the player to get their value. But from a front office standpoint, that's the real value of player development. Even if when you're developing someone like Mason Fluharty or Braden Fisher, that's $6 million you're not spending on some reclamation project reliever. It adds up. And if you can find that in Brett Bateman, hell yeah, man. Like, whether he's a full-time center fielder, which I mean, we'll really have to see, but even if he's a contributor at the major league level, that is replacing, Jesus Sanchez is here next year, but Sanchez is making 7-8 million. Those are the types of salaries you're replacing. And if you're a small market team, you're probably just saving the money. But if you're the Blue Jays, you take that money and you spend it somewhere else and you make the team competitive again. It's so important.
When Jeff Hoffman lost his closer's role, he's no longer with the team, so he's never getting it back. The team said they were going closer by committee. Then Louis Varland, he took that. He says, no, it's mine. But now, a few months after it happens, they are closer by committee. And correct me if I'm wrong, but this has to be great mentally for Louis Varland, where the entire team doesn't rest on his shoulders.
Yeah, he needs a day off every once in a while. Like Louis Varland, I believe wholeheartedly, like he is just physically built differently than other pitchers. Some pitchers are fragile and they break. And I think something about Louis Varland physically just works. Because he's made, 55 appearances this year. Several of them have been multi-inning, and a lot of them are back-to-back, 3 out of 4. It's very tough. But every pitcher is different. Now, you can be a big, built 6'4" pitcher and strong from a distance, but are the ligaments in your elbow, are the complicated mechanisms in your shoulder as strong as all of the muscles around them? Usually not. Those guys live on the IL. Louis Varland's just kind of a throwback. You feel like he's that country strong, everything works together. There's no weak point in the body. And it's so important. It's why John Schneider can trust him to throw him out there this often. So it's a relief for him. Like last night, he had just the night prior thrown 15 pitches. He's been used heavily recently. Give him a night. Throw out Spencer Miles. And if you need to, throw out Braden Fisher or someone like that. He can't save every game. He's still the closer, but he can't pitch every single day. And I like John Schneider's quote at the end, post game yesterday. Like he was asked, is this sustainable? how do you manage this bullpen? And he said, like, sustainable's gone, man. Like, you just got to pitch at this point. If it falls apart, it falls apart. Who cares? You're not in a spot now. You won't be then. But I think he's really going to let it rip.
I seem to be doing a Max Headroom thing.
I
Hopefully,
like
it's
it.
all clear on your end. Um, if you look at Trey Yesavage, you mentioned him earlier. He had surgery on his meniscus. Um, if I'm if I'm wagering on this, I don't think we see him the rest of the season.
It would surprise me at this point. Number one, because it's knee surgery. Number two, because just about every single Blue Jays injury this year has taken longer or significantly longer than initially publicly diagnosed. So it's you learn how to follow a trend eventually. And a meniscus is tricky. There is a world in which he heals up quickly because a meniscus surgery can mean a lot of different things. We are more familiar with this in the NFL. We're usually talking about a defensive end, and are they going to get it trimmed out and remove some meniscus? Are they going to repair it and try to save the knee long term? It's always a bit of a short term, long term play, and I don't know the exact details of the surgery other than it's successful, Dan, which we're always told successful surgery. I expect most surgeries to be successful in the big 2026. But Savage, his delivery is quite hard on that left knee. Think about Dylan Cease, how he's just like this easy rocking chair who glides back and smoothly glides down the mound. Trey Savage is like up, down, slam, throw, and he slams down on that left knee quite hard. You need it to be healthy. And if the Blue Jays fall back to 5 games out of this race, you're not going to see him. But if they are a game out going into September, it's going to be awfully tempting. Whether Trey is pitching as a full starter, pitching a few innings at a time, whatever it is, but they're not closing the door. And a meniscus has such a wide range when you know the fine details, which we don't. So it's not good news. I will not categorize knee surgery as good news ever, but it's not a injury that should impact next year at the very least.
The trade deadline helped the rotation with the absence of Yesavage. So you've got Soriano, Cease, Bieber, Scherzer, and Tyon. So you've got every spot filled.
Then Tyon hits the IL, and you're toast again, man.
Oh, yes.
This is
How
tough.
long's what's his injury?
Forearm tendonitis.
Oh, so we're back to bullpen games.
It's going to be tough. I'm at the point, Dan, where I have on my laptop at the ballpark kind of a notepad file off to the side just to keep track of these rotation injuries through the year because it's been a blur, and there's always been 3 or 4. So where they go now is kind of dicey. It's eventually Spencer Arrighetti will be back, but he is dealing with something called Morton's neuroma, which is new to me and I think was new to John Schneider, who I feel quite bad for because he has to answer all these questions about obscure physical ailments. But welcome to life as an MLB manager, I guess. Morton's neuroma is apparently when you have a buildup of skin or tissue around a nerve in your foot. And according to Schneider, it makes it feel like you have a rock in your shoe, which doesn't sound great. We'll see if he can pitch through it. He could be the number 5 if it works out. I don't know. Right now, they've got 4. And you have internal options like Chad Dallas, CJ Van Eyck, Lazaro Estrada, some trade deadline additions like John Klein, who came over from the Twins in that Hoffman deal. He's a
Woods
starter.
Richardson.
AAA. Simeon Woods Richardson is another. He seems to be getting by with some like magic and smoke and mirrors right now, but whatever. Zeros are zeros. Go for it. None of these are ideal options. None of these are standout, clear options at this point. And it takes me way back to the start of the year, Dan. Like just if Cody Ponce hadn't blown his ACL on just a freak play, if Bowden Francis hadn't needed Tommy John, man, he's a forgotten man in all of this. And I know he's not your ace, but if Bowden Francis had have entered the season as the number 8 starter, which is normal, he would have made 20 starts by now and he'd be in this rotation. What the Blue Jays are going through, you can't prepare for. So I don't blame the front office. I don't knock the front office. Patrick Corbin's another one. He's in the IL with a teres major strain. I cannot blame this front office for not having enough starting pitching, because if they had more than this, I would have been asking what the hell's going on. Why are you stockpiling all of this? Are you forming an expansion team? But it's not a good spot, man, especially for a bullpen that is totally gassed. But somebody's got to do it.
The play everyone in Major League Baseball is talking about is what happened on Monday night. The refresher, there was one out, runners on first and third, if I remember correctly. The scoreboard said there was two outs, so the runners ran on contact. Ball was caught in center. They think it's the third out when really it was the second. Jays throw to first. Okay, you got three outs. And then we had it felt like a 2-hour delay as the umps discussed it. The Red Sox get a run because of some unknown rule in which they were supposed to appeal to third. And can you shed any more light on it and correct me in anything in which I was recapping where I was wrong?
It's a tough one, man. It's a very baseball rule. And as it played out, because at a game, I'm looking up at the field, down to my laptop to right. I'm kind of in and out. And as the inning ended, I knew it wasn't right. As they were running off the field, I was thinking, I don't think that's the right amount of outs or runs. And I'm thinking in my head, God, please just start the next inning, because I think something got screwed up there. Please just start the game again. It was 15 or 17 minutes. The way to avoid this, we were told, would have been the Blue Jays to also just toss the ball over to third base and touch that base to appeal there. But since the umpires had ruled the Blue Jays had already left the field, they were not able to do that. And because of this wacky play that some people thought ended and hadn't ended, it creates what's called a timing play instead of a force play. So instead of just looking at the force out ending the inning, they had to look at the timing of, did the other runner cross home plate before the other out was declared at first, and it had. So it is incredibly obscure. I have written stories about it and done TV about it, and I still haven't quite wrapped my head around how to explain it. But it even apparently happened to John Schneider in 2016 in Single A Lansing, Michigan. And he was like, dude, I had no idea. You kind of wipe these things from your brain. I hope to, have a little lobotomy here and get it out of mine. But it's the baseball rule book is so obscure, man. I feel like the NFL rule book, we're always arguing about like what's a catch and like these very obvious basic issues. But if you I always say, Dan, if I have to reference an MLB rule book ruling like 5.03 CF, if I'm writing that in the story, I am having one of the worst days of my year, because that means I have had open the 200-page PDF document of the MLB rules. So a few guys had seen it before. Max Scherzer had, because of course he has. But a lot of the younger guys, like even like Ernie Clement, guys like that who are around 30, they're like, dude, I have no idea what was going on. Next time they will. But play of the day, though, John Schneider, man. 15 minutes in the field, no ejections. So
Here's what I was worried was going to happen, because the broadcast said, yeah, the scoreboard said there was two outs when there was one. I thought we were going to get into, Jays are cheating again, just like they had a guy in center way back when, relaying signs to the hitters.
I'm glad it didn't impact the game, because I'm frankly, I'm getting really sick of these types of things where the Blue Jays get positioned as this like hard done by, like, oh, Zach Wheeler's toe isn't on the rubber of the whatever, okay? Like, just, as long as no one's using a cork bat or something, and as long as no one's juicing and walking to the plate with 40-inch biceps, whatever. But there's been a few too many of those things lately where it turns into like, oh, the poor little Blue Jays are getting hard done by. No. So I'm glad it didn't turn into that. I don't know if I'd have the appetite for more of that. But yeah, thankfully no more man in white, who was apparently helping a bunch of Blue Jays teams that sucked. I never quite understood that one.
Speaking of those Jays teams that suck, let's end on this. I saw my first ever Jays. What do they call in the documentary that follows the games?
Blue Jays Way.
Blue Jays Way. And I cannot stop thinking about Carlos Delgado is Benjamin Button. They were having him sit down, talk about the teams, And Carlos Delgado looks younger now than when he played.
And like he's in shape, man. Like he's once or twice a year he'll be around the stadium, around the field. Um, and like I think he's still living home in Puerto Rico now. Like he's not constantly in Toronto like a lot of the alumni. Maybe once a year I'll see him, and it's always like, oh my god, man! Like Delgado could still hit 20. I'm very confident he could still hit 20. He's got that smooth and simple swing too, man. Like I need to get on that plan. I'm unfortunately on the baseball writer aging plan, and it's a little different than Carlos Delgado's, but he's my favorite player growing up, man. Like
The best swing.
oh, unreal. And I swung right-handed growing up, and I'd always try to do Delgados. It never worked, but I remember growing up, like Delgado would always bat fourth, right? Those Jays teams sucked, so they'd normally go down 1, 2, 3 in the first. And I'd always be asking my mom, like, you got to let me stay up and watch Carlos Delgado hit one time, man. Like, favorite all-time Blue Jay. I will argue until I am red in the face that he belongs in the Hall of Fame. And he's being held out by not having that round number of 500 home runs, man. But what a player. I love that guy.
And my blinders were taken off in that same edition of Blue Jays Way. I did not know that Roy Halladay was not a well-liked teammate. Did not know that. And then I golfed with Mark Hebscher, Hebsy, at a golf tournament on Monday. We're talking about, he goes, oh, you didn't know that? Oh, yeah, that was well known.
Yeah, he was very serious. You know, it's like so many of the like truly great athletes at the very top of each of their sports. You can't act like that in an office. I guess there's just always like, you know, now Roy Halladay wasn't like punching people, but it's just the stories I always get were like, yeah, I'd walked in and said good morning to him in the morning of his start. That was a mistake. Or, you know, it's like I think John Schneider has a great story he's told a few times where he and Roy Halladay were rehabbing at the same time. Schneider was like a AAA catcher, and he'd walk into the rehab facility in Dunedin each day. Schneider was rehabbing a back injury or something. And Schneider was smart. He knew not to like try to make small talk. So him and Roy Halladay every morning for like weeks just had this, hey, and that was it for and then they would go through hours of workouts side by side just in silence. So he was he was built for the mound, maybe not for a 9 to 5 with Zoom meetings.
That's right. You can't act like that in an office.
No.
Great point. Thanks, Geeks.
You got it, Dan.